Streaming.
I really hope you don't beat me this week, honestly.
Oh, you're
so
going
awesome.
down. One of you. One of you's
Safe.
going down.
Safest bet.
What do you put money on
What
that?
if you guys tie, though? How's the tiebreaker?
Bench
I've been
points.
putting money on my bench.
How's your bench?
I've been putting money on there. I've been like picking up all the bench.
Maybe a good
scores.
strategy is to really just stack your bench.
Go all quarterbacks.
I just take all
I got
my...
All quarterbacks.
I got Aaron
That's a
Rodgers.
great idea.
I got Aaron
Dude,
Rodgers
that's a
in
great
my
idea.
IR slot.
That doesn't count.
No, it doesn't. So I'm gonna move him up,
All right.
and I hope that
Is he playing?
Yeah.
Ooh.
he's back this week.
All right. Well,
I don't know football.
let's start.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Start podcast.
You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
Welcome to Thunderheads Midweek Podcast. I am Brandon Stoll, joined by the doctor. It's Rob Larson.
What's up?
Simple. I was expecting something extravagant like we've been going. Just a simple what's up.
No, yeah, it's a midweek pod. It's just kind of keeping it simple.
Gotcha. Dark and stormy. Jason Lewis is here.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, if you're tuning in live on YouTube, we appreciate you. And if you're not, just know that you can in the future.
If you're not, we don't appreciate. No, I'm just kidding.
This is the thing we're doing. So every week, every podcast, we're going to try to go live on YouTube. You can go back and watch these videos on YouTube afterwards, of course, because they'll save to our channel or whatever. So subscribe on YouTube. You can put some faces to the voices. Guys, I don't know what to think anymore about this team. Charlotte on Monday. Thunder just play some of the worst defense, if not the worst defense they've played all year, specifically in that third quarter. First quarter wasn't good either. They give up 34 points in the first quarter. Lost the game to Charlotte, I mean like this, right?
Yeah, it was gone.
After a Russ dunk,
An incredible dunk.
maybe his best dunk of the year.
It could be.
And it felt like a momentum grabber, too, when he did it, because it was a tight game almost the entire game. It was like, here we go.
The arena exploded.
It was a 1-on-4 break, and he just right over him.
Right in their face.
And then in I think 3 minutes, maybe less than 3 minutes, a 22-2 Charlotte run, game over.
Yeah, it was done.
Then they go on the road, Pacers. Paul
Wait,
George.
hold on. So why did you worry about that game before? Whenever
'cause
we
you
were doing
called
our
that
predictions,
lost.
what was
You called the lost.
Why?
I don't know. Something about Kimba. I was worried about him
Yeah.
kind of tearing him up. And then Dwight Howard's been playing pretty well this year. And when you got a guy that's that big and plays kind of the same way Adams does a little bit, I don't know. It takes away one of the Thunder's biggest strengths, if not their biggest strength
Adams
this year.
did get a little worked.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Howard outplayed him that night, you could say. Howard hit like an 18-foot
Yeah.
Tim Duncan off the
Big
glass
shot.
shot.
Very weird.
He was hitting threes in warm-ups.
He shot it confidently too.
I know.
Like it looked like that was what he.
He has looked good this
normally
year.
does.
He's kind of back to
Before,
himself.
did you guys see
a little.
before the game, Howard was like dapping up everyone on the other team.
What?
He's like way too joyful going into
He
the
always
game.
has
Like,
been.
yeah, he like went up to Russ like across the court, and Russ is like, dude, get out of
I
here.
don't even talk to him.
Yeah, I don't say hi. This is
weird.
not what I do. Anyways, then the Thunder go to Indiana. Paul George's return games. Boos, not that crazy of boos. A lot of boos, but not that crazy, right?
Yeah, they weren't.
Fair,
They weren't KD boos.
fair
Yeah,
to
no.
boo him.
Sure,
Yeah, of course it
it's
is.
fans. Not fair to wear his jersey and boo them.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that was
weird.
weird.
Why are their fans showing up in his jersey to
Yeah,
boo
So,
him?
did they set it on fire while it was on themselves?
No, that would have been a good idea though,
Would've been
because they seem like bad people.
Yeah.
So just
Anybody
get
who
yourself
burns
off the earth.
jerseys.
Yeah,
Not-
it's
well, not
just
necessarily,
weird
but-
that you. That's extremely weird that you would still kind of support him in the way of wearing his jersey, and then maybe they just got caught up in the moment and they were like, oh, I guess let's just boo then.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's like, is this what? Okay.
All right, we're gonna boo tonight.
Group thing.
I mean, surely they knew they were gonna boo coming in.
You would think so, but why? It's the only jersey. He's like, that's the only jersey I own.
The only
Like,
thing I
don't-
can think if it was like the KD thing, after KD left, people were wearing Durant jerseys and changing the name on the back to something else.
Could be.
Could be something like that.
Maybe.
But they still had the number 13 on it, where at least on the Durant jerseys they were like duct taping across the
Yeah,
three
they're
or
duct
whatever.
taping with- yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Their excuses, they don't have any, is what we're saying. Weird game. Adams completely dominant. Again, 23 points, 13 rebounds. Best player on the court?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Thunder do a good job on Victor Oladipo. Particularly Paul George did a really good job. Holding to 9 for 26. Vic got hot a little bit late, but 19 points on 26 shots, you'll take it.
Definitely.
Every single time.
I
Now-
kind of thought he was going to torch us because we didn't have Dre, and luckily.
What did he shoot in that fourth? He was 4 for 8 in the fourth.
And going back to you, Rob, you asked me why I was kind of worried about the Charlotte game. And I brought this up to you guys. Something about this team when a team like Indiana, who's been really good offensively all year, the Thunder have been really good defensively all year. If a team's really good offensively, it almost requires the Thunder to lock in defensively, which maybe requires them to lock in all around in the game. When you're playing a Charlotte team and you just, they don't do anything special. They don't really make you.
They've been semi not good.
Yeah, especially their bench, which is the worry, is their bench just completely outplayed the Thunder's bench.
Indeed.
Back to the Indiana game, because I think this is big. Thunder Stars combined for 10 for 45 shooting. Adams, 11 for 16, though. Abrinas, 5 for 8. Kind of the heroes of the game, including the bench, who played who played without any of the stars. And kind of, you could make a case that they won the game for the Thunder, just how well they played.
And that was something I was thinking watching this game is, like, whenever it was just the all-bench lineup, which Billy actually brought out during that Charlotte game too, which they didn't look very good in that situation. But when it was just the whole bench by themselves, the ball actually moves and they look like a real basketball team.
Yeah.
Like, is that something that you think we should stick with, where we don't throw those guys out there? Or
So that lineup played just under 10 minutes and was the game
in the Charlotte game or Indiana game?
the Indiana game.
Okay.
And was I believe that this is the Indiana game. And they were a +9, which was the high for any of the lineups that they put out there.
Yeah.
So but it was the second most used lineup by far.
And then the funny thing is, they put some time together in the first half, second quarter, and that's when they were kind of going on a run. Then Billy puts in Paul George, just a one-man sub with that same lineup. They can't score. They can't score for like 3 minutes. And one thing I noticed, and Paul George ends the game as a -3 in the plus-minus column, the only negative in the Thunder's a shadow appearance in the Thunder's roster. But that has to do with Billy Donovan putting him in with that bench unit. Does it seem like to you when he does that, it's almost like the team goes back to, they revert back from, instead of just playing basketball, they go back to overthinking. Paul George on the floor with us. We got to get Paul George the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of feels that way for sure. Like, it's just all of a sudden, all of that ball movement that you saw before just goes away.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're thinking, okay, well, we got to get him involved because he's not doing very well right now. And, like, this is his game. Like, the Indiana game is really important to him. And
it probably has something to do with Paul George being the only one out there and thinking he has to take over
Right.
rather than just trying to fit in more so. I think just being obviously the best player on the floor at that point, he thinks he's going to have – I think that's part of it, is just that he's going to have to step up and do more, whereas, really all he needs to do is try and fit in like what they had with the other guys.
Well, we've talked about that a little bit before, is how, like, it seems like the big three, especially PG to me, whenever he talks about stuff, you've brought this up, wherever he talks about the team, he only ever talks about, like, us three and then talks about the other guys as a separate thing. So, like, when he comes in there, it feels like to me that he's just like, oh, well, you guys.
Yeah, it's almost like the OK three or big three, even though that is not an accurate term. I'm done calling them the big three. Adams is a part of the big three.
Yeah.
Carmelo is not a part of the big three.
Well, that is the big three, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm done calling them that. What were we talking about?
Basically how Paul George only thinks of themselves.
They think of themselves almost as like a separate entity.
Yeah, exactly.
Is
And
that
that's not
valid?
good.
No, it's not good. But maybe they're starting to realize, whoa, this Steven Adams guy, this guy's damn good.
Right.
Like and you saw it in the Pacers game again. No shots for Adams in the fourth quarter. No shots for Paul George in the fourth quarter.
Russ was what, 0 for 6?
Russ was bad in the fourth.
Yeah,
Russ's
0 for 6.
decision making, man, has been, after an incredible fourth quarter, a season of fourth quarters last season.
Right.
Yeah.
It couldn't be more opposite.
Yeah, but I mean also it's a lot different for him.
Sure.
Right? We've talked about that. The decision-making process now, there's a lot of different decisions in that decision tree.
But he's not really
and he's
making
not using that at all. Yeah.
No.
He's just not making them. Like, whereas before he was just like, okay, I have one choice and I'm going to do
Yeah.
that one.
Simplified
now he's
it
just
for
like,
him.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like that anyways.
I don't either. I mean, I think that's honestly what this season comes down to a little bit, is if Russell, you see that the bench is kind of holding their own a little bit at times. They've played, I don't know, when you look at Raymond Felton, Patrick Patterson's starting to catch his stride a little
Looked
bit.
really good last night.
He's been playing some good minutes.
That was very nice to see, by the way.
Dre's been out, so Abrinas has been starting, and he's starting to, I don't know, he's getting comfortable a little bit.
his defense is shaky.
So when
But
Terrible,
right,
actually.
right.
that's
He
what I
was
meant. A nice
really
way
bad
to say
defensively.
terrible.
He's got a fouling problem. But when Robertson comes back, Abrinas is going to move back to the bench. He's got some newfound confidence, you would hope.
Yeah.
That gives you 3 guys, and then including Jeremy Grant, that gives you a bench that hopefully
Could score.
And the fact that the Thunder are winning games with Westbrook, Paul George, and Melo shooting as poorly as they are,
That's encouraging.
Is
It-
it?
I don't
I think-
know. I don't know. That's what I don't know.
Because at some point they got to make shots, right?
But don't you think that points directly to this season comes down to if these guys make shots or not? That's it.
Well,
If
yeah.
these guys, if the big 3 that I said I wasn't going to call them anymore, but I just did.
Fucking liar.
If they start making shots, this team's going to start winning a lot of games. But there's a chemistry issue between those 3. Is that fair to say? Like, it's very clear.
Yeah, there's a chemistry issue, and there's a issue of taking just bad shots.
Yeah.
Like the shot selection, I think is
Which those 2
Is
are
the
tied
most-
together.
the most worrisome. Yeah, definitely. But I don't know that you just flip a switch and just say, okay, well we're gonna start taking higher percentage shots whenever this is just kind of what they're doing. Like Carmelo, obviously has always taken bad shots, but it just seems like previous seasons maybe he had his legs a little bit better. I don't know if it's just the age is
he
what it
seems
is, or
very out of shape.
yeah.
Like he can't get to the rim without getting blocked.
I think he's trying to play his old Carmelo game that he's always played his whole career, and that's not what this team needs. At least from the position that he's playing, as far as he's starting. He's starting on this team, and I'm not saying that he needs to go to the bench or doesn't, but I would much like to see them get Melo behind the 3-point line, stay behind the 3-point line. You're not going to get offensive rebounds. He's not an offensive rebounder, right? Stay behind the 3-point line, get out of the way of Westbrook and Paul George, and let them go to work and be there for a spot-up jumper that Melo is absolutely still capable of knocking down.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it more comes down to, and probably something we'll get into as it goes on, but the fact that Melo has to, take a backseat even more than what he is currently doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it comes down to Melo's ego, really. I think at this point for this team,
Is it like a matter of Melo himself accepting that I can't play this way anymore? And maybe he doesn't know how to not play that way.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't seem like he's ever played any different.
I mean, everyone wants to talk
like
about
the Olympics.
Yeah, everyone
he
wants
was
to talk
different.
about Olympics where he basically just spot it from 3. That's what I'd like to see from him here.
Yeah.
he's shooting 38.5% on catch and shoot threes right now.
Good enough.
Better than the rest of him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have his what he's shooting just off the dribble or altogether in the, for the season for Melo. But that's higher than what he's shooting. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Does that make
field.
sense to you guys though? Like if he just stands out there on the perimeter more, I would assume that's going to open up a lot of room for not only Adams, which he's already had a lot of space open up for him, but for Westbrook, who to me is the most important piece on this team. The key to them finding any kind of success this season. Westbrook has to be
So
what's better.
What's up with Russ though? I mean, 3 for 17 against in the Pacers game. We talked about it.
It was
On
super
Twitter.
awkward triple double to get.
Well, it
It
is.
was like 10 points, 17 rebounds.
I don't even mind that one.
He had,
you know?
he had 2 points at the half.
Yeah,
and
it was strange.
Needed like an assist, I think,
Yeah,
before.
because he had like 11 or
11
12 rebounds.
rebounds.
I
but-
mean, how crazy is it that each of Carmelo, Paul George, and Russell each had more field goal attempts than they did points? All 3 of them. And the Thunder won.
That's not what you want.
And they won the game. I mean, I think that is that a testament to how good their defense is?
Yeah,
Yes.
Everyone-
I don't know.
It's sad sounding. Like,
I think it's hard to put too much stock into wins right now with this team,
And-
because they look terrible. Even
Yeah.
even when they're winning, like it doesn't look like they deserve to win.
so I have a question on that. Like, if you were to have been shown the box score of this game, like what percentage would you say that they had lost?
No, I would have said they would have lost that game.
Like 100%.
yeah,
Like
very
there's
close
no question.
to it.
Like pretty much no question.
But the
Yeah.
thing is you look over at the other side, and like I said, Victor Oladipo 9 for 26,
Right.
1
but
for
Vic
9
was
from 3.
the only one that struggled really.
That's true.
I mean, you
Carlson
had
did really well.
Yeah, Carlson played well, particularly in the first half.
but Donovan shot 50%. Thaddeus Young was only just under 40. Miles Turner didn't have a good game, but you look at their bench, and their bench was so good against the Thunder.
There's these weird moments with this team, particularly in that third quarter against the Pacers, the Thunder were getting stop after they started slow, but then they were getting stop after stop, turnover after turnover, and then they would go down in an empty possession of their own.
Right.
And so they couldn't make Indiana pay for what they were doing to them.
Yeah.
It felt like the Thunder, if they could just score, they could have won that game by 25 points. They could not score the ball.
Yeah, there were points where they were just locking him down, and then it just looked like a disaster on the other. Like, that's what I don't understand is, like, when you watch this team and it looks like they don't have any idea what they're doing on offense. Not at all.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, there was a part, I think there was a moment in the first quarter where, like, Melo and Adams both screened the same guy again and, like, ran into each other. And I'm just like, guys, like, how are you still at this point, like, this far?
So
like,
is it a Melo problem? Is it a Melo problem? Because in the past, this team has been brutal on the other teams when they get in transition. And now when you talk about turning the other team over, stopping the other team on consecutive possessions like they were, that would be good night in years past.
Right.
That's a ball game. You can't let the Thunder have that on you. Now they can't score. I mean, Melo's not fast enough to keep up. He's slowing Westbrook down. That's a point Tracy McGrady made on the jump today. That
was a great point,
that he's slowing Westbrook down. And I don't know how much
they're 20th in pace right now. The Thunder are. So I mean that definitely speaks to. But the thing was early on in the season in an interview, Russ said like that was the intent. They wanted to slow it down, which I think I don't know. It kind of makes sense.
Why?
It kind of makes sense whenever you think about sort of those three guys and how they want to play. But like they obviously, I think right now you can tell like they definitely need to speed it up, especially for Russ. Like I think what we're seeing, that's a huge reason why Russ's shooting percentage is so low is because they are playing so slow.
Yeah.
And to me, I think you have to do whatever is best for Russ. Because if you can get Russ in positions where he can start making shots, I mean, he's shooting a career low by a lot, like 38.9% right now.
Yeah.
And that his numbers have just plummeted of late. And so you have to find ways to put him in a position where he can make shots and make the defense guard him. Because right now, defenses aren't scared of Russ in the way this team is playing. And if Russ starts knocking down these shots, it's only going to open things up for guys like Paul George and Carmelo Anthony, and that's when the Thunder can become lethal.
And it's like playing to your strengths. That Russell is your greatest strength, like without
should
question.
be.
Yeah, he should be.
Yeah.
And like if you play the game to him, kind of like what you were getting at, like I feel like that will just help everyone else.
Mm-hmm. So does this come back to Melo then?
I think it all comes back to Melo.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what else.
So do you think
it's either Melo or Donovan? Like either one.
One of you gotta go.
Down.
So are you taking a light on Russ here? Are you taking it easy on him?
I don't think so. I mean,
But you think Melo's a bigger
issue? The
issue?
entire last podcast, we basically talked about how Russ was struggling. But like, I think part of it would be made easier. Obviously, if they didn't, it would be made easier on Russ if he didn't have to worry about Melo. I think there's something there where he's trying to make everybody happy. And I think nobody's, for the most part, happy, especially after the Indiana Pacers game. Like, guys were happy, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But before that, like, nobody was happy, and that's losing, whatever you want to chalk that up to. But I think, a lot of that is on Russ. Like, to make sure that, to make this work, it's on Russ. Right? Like, this is, I think we're talking, this is legacy kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Where we're saying, like, guys, the story was guys don't want to play with Russ.
Mm-hmm.
His style of play, they don't want to do that.
And also he can't play with others.
Right.
And that's a huge thing. And that's kind
you think
of
that was like said about him when he was a kid. Like
probably,
Russell doesn't play well.
He seems
with
like he
others.
was probably aggressive, always aggressive. I would
Yeah.
imagine. But I don't know. I mean,
So you think like moving Melo to the bench? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So that's the elephant in the room. That's the hot topic.
Yeah.
National media and
like
everything.
everybody's talking about it. So do you think that will really fix things, or like? Wasn't there a problem with Melo being with the bench, and now we were like, well, maybe if you just keep all of them out of the bench.
I'll let Brandon answer that. Brandon was the one that was saying like Melo should still be the one playing with that bench unit.
I think they were better than when they were with Paul George.
Definitely. When the bench was playing as good as they were, I don't understand why Billy Donovan went away from Melo playing with the bench, and then the bench starts to struggle and then never goes back to it. The bench has yet to be good that I've seen with Paul George. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's
like how long are you going to stick with this? What's the point in doing it? it was weird in the Indiana game. I felt like Paul George came out at about the 6-minute mark in the first quarter and didn't come back in until like the 6-minute mark in the second quarter. He sat for so long.
Well, do you think it was because he struggled? So he struggled a lot at the first. It was bad at the start. Do you think because the bench started getting something going, Billy was like, maybe if we put Paul out there right now, they'll be able to help him get
Maybe
going?
so.
Like, that's kind of what I felt like.
But don't
it
you
was.
think this kind of hurts Paul George if you take him out at the 6-minute mark when he's only taken one shot and he's got 2 points and he hasn't made,
Yeah.
like how are you supposed to, if you're Paul George, how are you supposed to get a rhythm?
Right.
But I will say that, if there's any one of these big three that can miss shots and you can live with it, it's Paul George because he does so much on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Like so you can accept it if he has a off night shooting. But Rob, you would say, let's go back to the Melo on the bench thing. Do you want to try this?
To me, it's a last ditch effort to say like because I don't think you go to Melo on the. They could go to Melo on the bench and then they'll be like, well, that's not what we want to do and bring him back. I just think if you go to Melo on the bench, that's probably it. Like you're probably going to say, if it doesn't, the reason you put Melo on the bench is because you figured out it's not going to work the other way with him starting. And so you put him on the bench and then it's still not working. I think at that point you're like, something has to change more so than just trying to bring Melo back in and trying to figure it out at that point. I think
we already tried that. A lot.
You don't do that until you realize like it's not working out. It's not going to work out with Melo as a starter.
So do you think they'll do that before the All-Star break if stuff doesn't work?
Definitely.
Oh, it needs to happen.
As much steam as this is getting, like so many people are talking about it, it's becoming such an issue. And this also is with the way the Thunder have actually been winning games recently.
Right.
Like it's still coming up.
Well, because it's so hideous. Like it's not like they're winning games and you're like, I feel good about that.
They're basically winning games because everything's averaging out.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they lost these games early in the year, and now it's just kind of evening out. But there's layers to this Melo to the bench thing because, number one, it's Carmelo Anthony. He's never come off the bench in his entire career. You saw in before the season media session.
Yeah.
When he laughed at the idea of it.
Yeah, he's actually laughed at it a couple times.
So you run the risk of, hey, Melo, I want you to go to the bench, and you could just totally lose your locker room if he just spoils it.
I mean, look at the Fizdale thing, like with Gasol, like he did that, and then he was fired like a day later.
Right. So
like,
there's
you definitely
layers
don't
want to
just do that if you're Billy. Like that's not a thing.
I don't think that you have to put Melo to the bench. You can still play him with that bench unit.
Well,
what if you just shifted him mostly to play with them?
Well, I think the point of moving him to the bench is because you get Russ and Paul George playing together without him, which I think rather than starting Melo, I don't know what if you want Melo to play most of his minutes with the bench, I don't know what the point of starting Melo is.
To make him happy.
Yeah, exactly. So do you think that Melo's just kind of in the way?
Yeah, it's the way it's 100%. That's the way it looks. Like I don't know if moving Melo to the bench is the answer.
Do you regret that trade?
That's so tough.
Nailing him. You're drilling him right now. On the spot. Hot seat. His seat's getting warm.
I did want Melo. I did want that trade. Before this was even 2 seasons ago, it was something we talked about. Like, man, it would be kind of, I don't know if it would work, but it would be kind of cool to see Melo here.
Yeah, we all did have that like hindrance of like, I don't know if it's gonna work, but it'd be cool.
But it could also
find out.
It could be 2 years late as well. Like you could, maybe Melo's just, I don't know.
Like had they just done it when we said.
But also look at Dwayne Wade.
That's Presti's fault, man.
Like look what happened with Wade. He came into Cleveland. He wanted LeBron wanted him to start.
Right.
He started. It wasn't working, and then finally they moved him to the bench, and they've been much better off since then.
Definitely. So what about just cutting his minutes a bit? I mean, he's still playing 30 to 35 minutes a night. That might be too much for old-ass Melo.
Maybe he could jump if he only played 20 minutes.
So if you do cut his minutes, then maybe you allow, like you're talking about, Rob, you allow Russ and PG to get a bit of a rhythm without Melo on the court. Now, you can still start. This team's had good starts to many games this season.
Very good starts.
Yeah, but, I mean, you can look at the Charlotte game the other night where the first and third quarters are where they lost the game. Now, when do your starters play first and third quarters?
Well, that's also a little bit of an outlier.
Sure.
Versus all the other games. Like, they were, earlier in the season, they were starting off incredibly, and then all of a sudden, they would get 20-point leads, and then all of a sudden, Melo would get tired.
The Thunder are plus 77 in the first quarter so far this season.
Say that again.
They're a plus 77 in the first quarter so far this season, and a minus 62 in the third quarter.
Yeah, third quarter's been their Achilles heel, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean by far.
That's like the exact opposite almost.
Almost. Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know. Maybe Melo's.
I don't
playing
know
too-
about math, but it sounds
Maybe
close.
this is like an exact, I don't know, example of basically a microcosm of the season. Last night, the audio that ESPN grabs from the huddle of Melo, late game, talking about how they're going to play defense on Oladipo. Did you guys see this?
Yeah.
I didn't see
Talking
this.
to Paul George.
Talking to Paul George in the huddle, talking about, because Paul George was guarding Oladipo on the pick and roll. They were talking about how they're going to guard the pick and roll, and Melo was saying, well, let's trap. I'll trap, and by the time we get around the trap, I'll get back to Young, talking about Thad
Yeah.
Young. I'll get back to him in time. We'll be fine. I'm here. He like kept saying, like, I got you, man. I got you. And then after that, like,
Torched.
yeah,
He
they
totally didn't
put
get him.
Melo in the pick and roll every possession, and they just torched him.
Oladipo scored 4 baskets in that fourth quarter. It seemed like they were all on that switch on the pick and roll on Melo. At least 3 of them were.
What goes through players and coaches' minds when that happens?
That's where this 100% is where Billy Donovan deserves so much blame. Like you have to have enough behind you to say, look, they're getting you in that switch. It was
Yeah,
obvious.
like, stop
After
doing
the
this.
first time, it worked so well. You knew as soon as they came back down, that was exactly what they were going to do. Like Billy should have called a timeout,
Right
and you
then.
have to pull Melo out and say, like,
Yeah.
we need to go with whoever it is, Grant. Like somebody else needed to come in and be able to help on that switch because, like, it was so clear what Indiana was going to do, and they did. They did it over and over. That almost cost the Thunder the game. They could not get a stop. They could not score on the other end, and it was all because, like, I felt like if they didn't take Melo out, like, they were so close to losing that game. He
Right.
didn't pull Melo out. That game was so close to just falling for the Thunder. You imagine if they lose that game. They just
Oh.
lost to Charlotte. Now they go to Indiana. They lose that one.
That would have been
Immediately,
really,
You have
really,
the
really bad.
76ers on rest coming up next. Like, to me, that is 100% Billy Donovan.
So what's
right
the
there.
issue here? If it is Billy Donovan, I totally agree with you. By the way, if it is Billy Donovan, then what's the issue? Like he doesn't have the, does he not have the guts to go to Melo and say, hey, I'm taking you out right now because Melo's not gonna like it. But the thing is, Melo's been in the league 15 years. He's an established player. He's been an all-star 10, 11 years. And Billy Donovan's been in the league 3 years.
If
That's
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
That's
the
got to be
thing.
hard.
If you don't, you have to have it from upper management saying, like, backing you, right?
For
like, you
sure.
have to have Billy has to feel confident enough to be able to do something like that. Maybe get a little
You'd
flack
almost
from it.
need Sam to go talk to him and be like, hey, man.
I don't know. You need to make sure everybody knows, like, Billy, this is Billy's call.
Right.
And so if Carmelo comes out and says something to the media, like, that's when Sam needs to come in and be like, no, I mean, he's our coach.
Right.
That's
he needs
what
to
needs to
back
happen.
him. Yes, he'd have to back him.
If he can't do that, then I think it is time. Like, Billy's not the right guy, right? And maybe it's
Yeah,
not.
no,
Maybe
I
it's
agree.
not the right time. I'm not saying that they need to change, but Billy just has to, like, that has to happen. And if Carmelo's going to fight him on that, on a game where you could clearly see Carmelo late in that game was the reason that the Pacers almost won,
Yeah.
especially defensively, and he's going to fight you on sitting him. Like, if Billy's not going to do that, this team is, like, in a huge trouble.
I agree. And worst that can happen is Melo fights it and pouts.
Yeah.
And if he does that, he's not going to be happy. Maybe he demands a trade. Problem is, if he demands a trade, his value is
Gone.
more diminished than it already is.
I don't know what kind of value he.
But then at the same time, it's like, well, if you can get whatever you can get, you go for it. You know,
Yeah.
you just get whatever you can get for him
Yeah.
at that point.
I think it's pretty clear the Thunder would rather not be in that situation right now with Melo anyway.
Yeah, but the thing, like, this goes back to me is I still think Melo can be good for this team. They just got to figure out how to use him.
Yeah.
And
I think
maybe maybe it's more of a Melo thing, like we're saying.
But
Maybe
again, that's Billy Donovan. Like, that's more
I think it's
blame.
both. I think it's both.
What?
There's a gray area somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think it's both. I mean, I think you're definitely right. Billy Donovan has to say, and he did say something last night about how particularly Melo is taking bad shots. Like, he kind of said that in his post game, and I was like, interesting. But Melo also has to realize that he's not who he once was, and he can't do this. And if he's not realizing that now, I don't know when the hell he ever is going to, because he's
right.
getting blocked at the rim over and over and over and over.
Can't
jump.
score at the rim.
He keeps trying these turnaround jumpers that, I mean, young guys guarding him are just,
Yeah.
they're laughing at him. That's what I'm saying. Put this guy behind the three-point line. Run and gun. If you don't make it, if he doesn't get to the three-point line,
He's a trailer.
sorry. Yeah, sorry, we don't need you. I don't know. You gotta figure something out. But and then again, I mean, that goes back to Russ though. Like, he's got to be willing to be like, I don't care. Like, we gotta play our game. Russ has to start making shots. You can blame it on Melo as much as you want, but to an extent, Russ is having some serious issues this year.
He's taking bad shots.
Horrible shots. His decision making just
It's
way
bad.
off. Way off. And even when he does take a good shot, he's not knocking him
He's
down.
not confident about
He's
it,
not-
ever.
You're right. He's definitely not confident on
And
it.
I think that's the problem with him finishing at the rim, too. He's not confident about his decision that he's making. That's like the thing, is he's always second-guessing himself, like, should I be doing this right now or not? I mean, I don't
think
know
if-
that for sure, but I'm just
If you want to look at
saying
how, for sure, like, you know, you can look at somebody who's not confident. Look at his free throw percentage.
things. Right.
Like, it's incredible to me that he just
Which
is
is
struggling
It's insane.
all the way around. He's just struggling.
What do you think it is?
I don't know what it is.
It's just a funk, like a weird funk. I mean, we talked about it, I guess, last pod. Is it the pressure? Maybe it's just the pressure.
Yeah.
It's just so weird, though. Like, you know, one thing I've been noticing lately, him picking up his dribbles. Like, getting to the elbow and picks up his dribble and just, like, has to sit there and pivot until he has a guy who he basically passes to.
And they
then
pass right back.
Yeah, and then they
Yeah.
pass right back. And it's just like, well, that was the most pointless 10
What's
seconds
this?
of
What
offense.
is this? What is this?
Yeah, and a lot of times with really great point guards, what you see is they don't pick up their dribble for anything, man.
Yeah.
Like, you do not pick up your dribble. And he's picking it up so quickly. He doesn't even have confidence in his dribbling. Like, how often have you seen him just, you know, wow you with a dribbling move where he's just totally done an in-and-out dribble and got by a guy for a layup? None.
It hasn't been a lot.
It's been straight line drive towards the rim, and that's why I think you're seeing he's not getting a lot of foul calls because he's not being very elusive when he's trying to get to the rim.
Yeah, it's not like the creativity that he had last year, you know?
He's not under control a lot too. He's a lot of times when it seems more so than especially last year. Like whenever he goes to the rim, he just seems completely out of control, and you're not going to get that call anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if anything, I mean,
Especially if you're out of control.
right. Yeah, you can't get that call if you're out of control.
And what's weird is like the reason he looks out of control to me is that it looks like he just can't hold on to the ball. Like late in the game, Abrinas had the biggest play of the game, right? That tip in.
Yeah.
It basically sealed the game. Well, it didn't necessarily seal the game, but it was the biggest play of the game.
Huge.
Huge.
The
Huge.
tip in came off of a Russ attempt at a putback that he actually had a pretty good look, but he made it look like it was the hardest shot in the world. And it just like he like threw it up and it had no chance of going in. It's like he can't hold on to the ball. I don't know what's going on. Like when he dribbles, he just cannot hold on to the ball.
This is really bumming me out, guys.
But it maybe shouldn't have been Abrinas with the biggest play of the game because maybe it should have been Hustis. And he got robbed of it.
That was
It's
a
just-
bunch
so
of
bad.
bullshit.
You know what was the most BS about it is that they call it a charge. It's a timeout on the floor. They don't reverse it until after the
After the
timeout.
timeout.
So in the timeout, you're sitting there talking about
We're about to like do an offensive play,
Yeah.
and then they're like, "No,
yeah.
cancel whatever the hell y'all were
How
talking
can
about."
you do that?
I thought
he
I thought
was-
the only thing they could check was to see if he was in the restricted area.
So
Right.
did I.
But
I didn't know you could
that's
check if he was, but he was in a defensive position also. Like he was correct.
That's so strange.
it made no sense to me.
Doris,
I didn't think
Doris
there was any
humbly
question
disagreed with them.
Yeah. I like that. I humbly disagree. Okay. You can just.
They're fucking wrong. Just say that, Doris.
Yeah.
Bring it.
I don't. Yeah.
I
not
unhumbly
humbly.
disagree.
Stupid humble Doris. So let's go back to Melo going to the bench.
Send him.
If he goes to the bench, who starts?
That's an impossible question to answer. I don't know. I guess.
Well, let's. It's probably between Patterson and Grant, right?
Definitely, yeah.
You can maybe try to make a case for Hustis
I
if you don't want to take too much away from your bench.
would go Patterson. I think Jeremy Grant is so important to that bench unit.
Yeah.
Like
You're right.
he's so versatile, so much more than Patterson. I think you could pull Patterson off, and you wouldn't lose as much as you would pulling somebody like Grant off.
So you just play Grant at the 5 then? What do you
Well,
do? What do you do?
I think more often than not, I would feel better. And I know it's been
And then
That's
you're
terrible.
actually a good point.
Would your 4 or
It's
5
been-
be Mello and Grant?
It's been terrible this year whenever they've used Patterson at the 5. But like I think if you're gonna pull Steven off of that starting lineup quick, after 6 minutes or whatever it is,
Kinda
I think
good.
you could still get by with Patterson at the 5 for a small amount of time,
Okay.
and still because Steven Adams, I still say like we've talked about Melo, Paul George. Like, Steven Adams needs to be running with that second unit. Like, he's the one that
He
needs
needs to be on the
out
floor
there.
for 48 minutes.
He always
That's what I've
needs to play
decided.
all of
Seriously,
the minutes.
man.
is
Can
what
we
he
clone
needs.
Maybe the issue here is maybe instead of Melo going to the bench, he can still start, but maybe just close with Patterson. You look at the other options at the 4. Melo, who we talked about last night in the Indiana game, just gets torched over and over and over and over, which is by design. I mean, they're attacking him. Then Grant. One thing that's been driving me nuts about Grant, he comes up with crazy blocks sometimes, but when he goes for a block that he has no business going for and leaves the weak side rebound just wide open, oh my God.
It's because he's all in every single
I'm getting
time.
hot. I'm getting too hot.
If you do that at the end of a game,
Yeah.
I mean you're gonna get put in the doghouse. And I think you can trust
That's not where you
Patterson.
wanna go.
You can trust Patterson, number one, because he can't jump, so he's not gonna even attempt to.
You're
think
damn
like that.
right.
I mean, yeah, he has his problems rebounding, but
He's got that going for him.
the Thunder don't really need the rebounding from the 4 quite as much.
Definitely.
He's catching a stride, man. I think
And
that they need to
Patterson
utilize
looked
him.
really good last night. I was really impressed. Like, he shot well.
Hit some of the biggest shots of the game.
Huge.
Those 2 corner
Huge.
threes. Yeah.
It made no sense why he wasn't
I
in
was
at the
very
end of the
confused
game.
about that. I really was.
Well,
And I don't complain about Donovan all that much, but
You should be.
I'm complaining about that.
Should be.
So what is it? It's gotta. I mean, everything points to Donovan doesn't have the guts to do this.
Yeah.
To pull the trigger and say,
For a mob boss, that's pretty strange.
Well, he
Confusing.
needs to have a few guys come up to the arena just
Just-
standing behind him.
Maybe
like,
he just needs to stop wearing suits and just go back tracksuit.
"Ooh,
He
I
needs
like
to
it."
sideline tracksuit it.
Maybe like have an outline of a fake gun in his pocket. You know.
Be real.
a wife
Yeah, that could
beater
be
with
real,
a
I
little
guess.
bit of meat
Yeah.
hanging out of the
Oh, yeah.
top. Like you just
His
get
gold chain ever
It's
present.
gross to call it meat. You shouldn't call it meat.
a
That's
little meat
gross.
hanging out of the top. Hey, they'll get the picture
It's
real
not a
quick.
good look.
But everything points back to him just not being. Put yourself in his shoes. That's
I don't
hard,
wanna.
man. That's
It's
difficult.
a bad spot to be in.
That's a difficult thing to do. It's
It
not what
comes-
he signed up for.
Comes down to
Yeah.
how bad do you want to win.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
all, I can't stress it enough. Like they were so close to losing that game because Carmelo was in the game at the end.
But they
like-
just wanted it more, so they won.
Yeah, evidently.
Did that work? I don't know.
No, I don't think
feel
that's
like that
how it
worked.
works.
I don't know. What about Abrinas? Has starting been good for him? You feel better about him moving forward? Do you think this is almost a perfect?
You can't feel worse about him after. I mean,
I don't feel great about his
he had a-
defense.
You guys feel better
Yeah.
about Robertson if you had any worries about it at all beforehand in the starting lineup? You think like now it's actually shown
feel like he's pretty
how
important.
necessary it is that he's
did
in
it
this-
though? I mean, what did it really show?
Still really good.
I mean,
defense.
so they gave up what was it, 100 and what they give up 115. Was
in the Charlotte game it showed.
Charlotte game.
yeah.
Did it? Like I don't
think
know
so.
how much. Like how much did it? 116 to Charlotte, which I understand. That's obviously Thunder, a great defensive team. The first game without him, but then you look at the Pacers, who had been killing it in their last 5 home games, like scoring a bunch of points. I don't have the number
Like
in front of me,
they've
but,
been the 4th or 5th best offense in the entire NBA.
and they hold them
So-
to 95.
They have a defensive rating of 91.4 with Robertson and a 112.9 with Abrinas. And this is something
When?
that John Hamm. This what do you say? That same 5 is negative 5.4 in 54 minutes.
Oh, that's with the starting 5 with Abrinas.
Right.
Yeah. And so this is a John Hamm tweet earlier. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty big.
I get that they
difference
gave
in
up
defense.
116 to Charlotte, but they held Indiana to
Mm-hmm.
95. Like I don't know. I am not trying to say that Andre Robertson has no value and he shouldn't be
Yeah,
starting, but I'm not saying also that I think these last couple of games have said like obviously they're missing.
Yeah, no,
It helps when Abrinas makes a few threes.
Yeah.
You know, if he
Like,
can
well, that was the big problem with him in the Charlotte game, right? Like, he looked terrible,
Oh, he was so bad
like
defensively.
so bad.
He
And
fouled 3 3-point
defensively, and yeah,
It was like in a row.
it
or
like
2
didn't
of them
stop.
Were at least really
it was
close.
ridiculous. And then he wasn't hitting anything. It's like, what are you doing? Like when he's not making shots, though, it's like, what are you doing there?
In a weird way, I think that it's shown that almost the Thunder need. This is going to sound crazy.
Uh-oh.
They need Robertson because of their offensive issues, and the reason I say that is because Robertson's such a he just does the little things. He's like going up on the offensive rebounds, trying to get his hands on the boards, doing some dirty work, setting some screens if he has to. Why the big 3 can't make it? I keep calling the big 3.
Okay,
I just
I
totally,
thought you were done with
you're
that.
such a
know,
liar.
You can't help it.
No, but why they can't make a shot? It's nice to have some of those guys that can, go get an offensive rebound and will still go play defense on the other end.
He's the little engine that sort of could.
Now, if those 3 can start making shots, I think it becomes you might be able to make a case that then you put Abrinas out there. Ooh, look out! If these 3 can
Yeah,
get it going,
then it'd be badass.
God, they can't make a shot, man.
But they can't.
What's the deal?
Which is like that's what they're good for.
It seems like they should be really good at making shots.
It's almost like what they've done their whole lives.
Yeah.
Something like that. I have a this isn't actually like a full on game. I just thought of it just now. Little mini game for you guys. Let's just call it which is
on the spot naming a game.
Let's call it which is the most likely to happen.
This season.
Terrific name. Do you want to keep going?
All right, here we go. All right. And this is kind of like doomsday scenarios a little bit. Paul George demands a trade. Carmelo demands a trade. Or the Thunder fire Billy Donovan. Which is the most likely to happen?
I'd say C.
It feels like I don't think it's Carmelo demanding a trade.
No.
It'd be funny if Carmelo demanded
He's trying
a
to
trade
get that. He's trying to get that money next year,
Who's
bro.
going to trade for him?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's trying to get that money.
Yeah, I'll agree that it's Billy Donovan.
A second close.
It's close, though.
A.
I do think it is close. By demanding a trade, I mean silently to Sam Presti saying, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
Basically, trade me or lose me for nothing. That's, to me, demanding a trade rather than just coming out and saying,
I feel like
I
those
want
two
out
are
of
kind of
here.
like pretty close.
I mean, it's the same idea. Like, he's
possible.
basically saying the only reason Sam Presti would ever trade him is if he says,
that
I'm
reason.
not coming back. Otherwise, we want to run this back with Russ, Paul George, Steven Adams next, the big three.
And Melo.
Because
he's coming back.
Okay, so which
He's
is
got that player option, bro. He's not leaving.
I know, but he's not
trying to
in the
get
big
that
three.
Well, which is more likely, the Thunder trade Paul George, not that Paul George demands a trade, but the Thunder trade Paul George, or that they would fire Billy Donovan, which would be more likely to happen?
I took the last one first.
I would say that they trade Paul George. I don't think Billy Donovan's going anywhere.
Did we just
at least
answer the
this season.
reverse of what we did last time?
I don't think Billy Donovan's going anywhere. So I'll say that they'll trade Paul George.
All right, which is most likely?
But he didn't answer.
Yeah, he did. He said fire Billy Donovan.
Yeah, I did say that to the question before.
He wants
It
to
was the
fire
same.
Billy Donovan.
I don't. I'm the one person that doesn't want to do that.
Why? Give him a chance.
What do you mean you're the one person?
starts
No
attacking
one
me.
here wants to fire Billy Donovan.
Jason's also the one
Everyone
that's like,
does.
hey, let's just keep letting him tinker. Like, let him just keep tinkering with that
And
bench.
eventually
let him-
you'll figure it
Let
out.
him fall to 15 and 32, then we'll do something.
That's when you
Yeah.
flip that switch. That's when
All
you
right,
turn it on.
Last one. Which is most likely? The Thunder get better, the Thunder stay the same, or the Thunder get worse?
Thunder get better. I
Hey,
can't take this.
they're absolutely
anymore.
gonna get
But
better.
hold on, are you speaking because out of hope? or are
Yeah,
you-
heart, hope. Please. Please
Just
play better.
desperation.
Yeah.
Let's do some Twitter questions.
Let's do some Twitter questions.
You got them?
Soon.
Okay.
All right.
Just three grown men saying tweet.
Normal, right?
Yeah.
People do that all the time. Thunder fan 123 at fan 123 Thunder.
I like that.
Weird.
At.
Switched it.
Twister. After PG's 42-point game, he talked a lot about getting a good stretch by a trainer before the game. Seems like it's time for another stretch.
That's a good
I
point.
concur, sir, or madam, whoever, which. All right. Name cannot be blank at Galbraith Will. What's more important, the Thunder win in Indiana or saving net neutrality? I think that Indiana win was really more important, guys.
I'll say this. The reason it was so important is because of everything that happened afterwards.
The net neutrality stuff?
No. Guys joking around with each other.
Yeah, no.
Like, everybody was having a good time.
Russ almost stone cold stunnered Adams.
What was weird
pretty fun.
is before the game, all leading up to the game, Russ was like in this super chipper mood.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw any of that, like posting on his Instagram story, Snapchat story, all kinds of.
Well, he
you know,
was dancing.
yeah
On
dancing.
the media thing.
Had the
singing a
Thunder's
little.
PR guy,
He needs to be like that all the time. Fun Russ is better.
He
Agreed.
hit that shot that he, shot that he
first
shot
time.
First time. Afterwards, he was running off the court, like saw a couple of kids with basketballs, ran over there,
Right.
signed them real.
Yeah.
Like he was having a good time
I know, so weird.
after
Where's
3
this
for
thing?
17. So
So he was still excited about it, you know.
I
17
did like his
rebounds.
post game interview though when they asked, they're like, another triple double came in a kind of an unconventional way for you, and he was like,
I don't care about
I don't care. He was like, I'm just glad we got the win. I thought he talked about Adams and was just talking about how good he's been. I don't know. It felt like he was in a better mood, like a more contagious mood as far as positivity goes.
Yeah.
And that's how he needs to be.
that's probably that could be the most important thing to get them going is to play a little bit
Fun
more
Russ.
free,
Just
like
be loose.
not as much stress, not as much on it, and just kind of go out there and do what you
Relax.
normally do.
This team overthinks everything, man.
Yeah.
When you see those little glimpses of those rhythm plays and Like, yes, do that. Just play.
Yeah.
Just play basketball.
Do that more, please. And they didn't. They don't. They don't do that more. It's sad. All right, Todd Lytle at ToddBoy23. Does Melo have a constant flat tire?
That's such a good way of putting it.
I think he needs to go over to Hibden, fix it for free.
Yeah, they do patch them for free.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
I like
All
how
right.
this should be, that question became an
Ad
advertisement
for
for
Hibden. There you go, guys.
They
Free.
send us the
I'll give
check.
you a little freebie there.
this podcast. Thunderheads brought to you by Hibden.
They recently
Hibden
fixed my
Tires
flat tire
Plus.
for free, so you know. All right, Glenn at GC Bedlam Brother. Have we ever been a good 3-point shooting team? Also, are we the unluckiest buzzer beater team in the league? Always seems that the opponent makes end of half or quarter shots against us.
You can just count on those going
yeah,
in.
every
Yeah.
time.
It's
They could
right-
do them backwards. And they
He's
just
right about
go.
that, and about being a good 3-point shooting team. I don't
Nope.
think that the Thunder really have ever been top half of the league in 3-point.
Doesn't feel like it.
No.
It seems like every time we get shooters, they come here and do what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
Not make baskets.
Yeah.
So quit getting shooters.
Yeah. Get guys who suck at shooting and then they get better.
I do like that Patterson seems to have a knack for finding that corner.
That is good.
No one else goes to the corner.
It's a good spot
Jeremy
for him.
Grant, you give him a 3 all day, and he just like almost shoots it, and then he dribbles in place for like 4 dribbles, and then drives.
Yeah.
I feel like I was watching Jeremy Grant right there.
Yeah,
That's
it looks
exactly
like-
what it
This
is.
is a great impression. All right, Low at Solid Cannon? I don't know.
Solo to cannon.
Solo to Cannon? All right. Why does it seem like these refs have it out for OKC this year?
That's another good one. I don't know.
Well, I think it's a lot probably is because they're trying to get foul calls. Stop
yeah,
it.
Well,
there's been times
PG does that a lot where he just like bumbles into people.
He
He's
definitely
like, why didn't I get that call?
He
Well, because
looks-
you bumbled into the guy. Don't.
Bumbled official
yeah,
term.
stop calling
bumble.
it bumbled.
Bumbling. It's a new thing.
No, there have been times that the calls have been like, whoa, like
Yeah.
this is strange. But I think you're a lot more likely to notice it when the Thunder are struggling like they have been all season long. So
Or are they a lot more likely to struggle when they're not?
What happened on those 6?
not
What
fun.
was the last 2-minute report?
oh my god, so
There's a
many
whole
things.
bunch.
There were 6.
Well,
How many were against the Thunder?
Like 4 against the Thunder.
Oh god.
Yeah, one
That's
of
not
them
what you
was
wanna see.
Adams got away with a foul on the last steal apparently on Thad Young.
Really?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Well, and I remember listening to some of the game on the radio, and Matt Pinto, it was like the second or third quarter, and he was like, anyone who has eyes would be able to see that that was a foul call. He called he mentioned like 3 offensive fouls on Indiana's part that never got called. So, I mean,
Might be biased a little bit.
he's not. He's
Okay,
not.
That's good.
I'm biased enough to say that he's not.
Yeah.
All right, Adam at Adam CFC. Are we better off starting with Abrinas or Robertson when he gets back?
Robertson.
Agreed. Thank you guys for finally coming to my side.
I will
I'm
say
just kidding.
I was excited to see it. I wanted to see what it would look like.
Yeah, I think it was actually nice. I think for Dre's case, it's nice to see the team without him, because then everybody's like, oh shit, he's kind of useful.
How about closing the game? What would you rather? Would you rather Robertson or?
I think
Abrinas?
ideally Abrinas. But
I'd rather him just hockey sub every possession.
yeah,
that would be
if you have all
so
your
good.
timeouts, just
Yeah, just use them all.
every possession. Yeah.
All right, Felipe Costa at Costa Felipe. I'm not saying that right, probably. I think winning has been and will be important not only for the team's record.
True.
It is, but also for its development. Probably so. I think it's vital to elevate the confidence level, which is a huge problem right now. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Winning and losing definitely has an impact on their record,
It's
for sure.
It's weird that they're playing the same way. They just are winning more games now, and so it feels better. You know what I mean? Like that results matter more.
It does
than
barely
everything.
feel better, but it does feel
Does
better.
feel better. I mean, they're 4-2 in their last 6, and they played some of the worst basketball they've played all year.
Thunderous obstinacy. I'm just going to go with that. All along this season, we have been trying to figure out which starter to stagger with the bench. Was the solution all along none of them?
Steven Adams is the solution
Steven,
all along.
It could be.
I think
Yeah,
it
but
might. I think you might be right.
It could be, but you know, like this is where I do give Billy Donovan credit. I think you could easily look at that and be like, what is he doing? You have to stagger these big 3. Everyone figured he was going to stagger the big 3. Instead, he's playing the bench with none of them. No one thought that was a good idea coming into the season. And I think that he's realizing these guys don't play freely when they have one of these guys out there with them.
Right. Agreed.
But yeah, I think your point's well taken, Rob. If it's Adams, then you're not just constantly looking for Adams. He's not a guy you're
Right.
just like, We need you to get
Yeah.
you the ball. You know.
But
And
also the PG Adams thing with the bench worked really well. Like
And
that
what-
was the one time PG with the bench worked. So,
what Adams does is like can work with
Anybody.
anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just makes sense to have him, and he's playing the best out of everybody
just gotta get
in
him
the
to
world.
play 48
so-
minutes. That's the
In
answer.
the world.
In the world.
Hey, is he getting closer to that All-Star spot?
I just don't think he'll get there because.
I have a
of
question
name,
for you guys.
No. Okay.
Legitimate or preposterous?
but-
All right.
Does any player make the All-Star team from the
Russ will make it.
Over.
Thunder? Over.
Over.
This or that?
They're definitely Russ is
You sure?
definitely making.
Yeah, they'll put Russ in just
I
by
hope so.
just by his numbers alone.
It's starting to look a little scary.
None of them will start for sure.
Yeah, no one's starting.
Oh, that's sad. All right, Bennett Barry. Remember when we thought all three of them were going to do it?
Well, it was fun. We thought two for. I think we were like.
But the
two.
start of the season was way more fun than right now of the season.
It's crazy how much worse Carmelo Anthony is than we thought he was gonna be.
It really is.
It really is.
Like we thought Carmelo Anthony was gonna be, I don't know, what's an equivalent player that we thought maybe he'd be as good as?
Like Ariza or something?
Better than that, I think. Like at
I
least
had
production wise.
Yeah, you'd expect more than that.
But he hasn't even been close
Like
to
I don't
that.
know, we thought Carmelo would probably score like what 21 a game, something like that.
Yeah.
It'd probably be the average amongst all of us, which he's still right around there. But we thought maybe he'd shoot like 46, 47%.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's been awful.
All right, Bennett Barry, at Bennett Barry. If Russell Westbrook Day has been legally proclaimed as every day in OKC, what is legislative procedure to ensure a future Steven Adams Day?
He deserves it, this guy.
He does.
I tweeted last night that he deserves a party. Someone needs to throw him a little party because he's the unsung hero.
Don't let him get too trashed, though.
Let
'cause he's got a
Raymond
game to
Felton
play.
be like the, I don't know, he kind of benefits from the party as well because he deserves some credit.
He does.
Yeah, but he's also been. I mean, recently, yes.
I
Yeah,
think
he's-
all year
He was.
He had a little
terrible
slump there
for
for a
like
minute.
2 weeks.
Sure, but as a
It was
bench
bad.
player, it's hard to expect a bench player to just be good every game.
But that's such an important spot.
It is.
on the bench. Like
No,
I
for
bet
sure.
Billy didn't give him those burgers after those games.
But I think
No.
that if not for him just having more good games than bad, the Thunder's record would look a lot worse than
Definitely.
it does now.
You're right about that.
We were talking about Adams earlier, so I pulled up his numbers. 14 points a game, 8.7 rebounds, 1.2 steals, 1 block, shooting 65% from the field, 65% from the free throw line. All of those career highs, except for blocks.
Weak. Got to get them blocks up.
Pretty good.
All right, Boomtown at BoomOU updated. Would it be possible to have the starters just sit and practice and watch the second team run offense? It was truly fun to watch the bench unit work against Indiana. I think that's a great idea.
can't hurt.
Watch, guys. This is how you play basketball and move around.
Do the film session, but it's only the bench. You cut it so it's only the bench minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, coach, what about? No, you didn't deserve to be on this film.
Yeah.
All right, Augustus Jumper at AM Jump Shot. Quick scenario. Russ and the guys notice all Steven's hard work and tell him one random pregame at the end of the season. It's your night. They gave him 30 shot attempts. What's Steven's stat line look like?
Oh man.
Well,
On
a lot
30
of
shots.
A lot of those are going to be like going to him in the post. Obviously, if you're going to get him 30 shots.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
So how
feel
many
like-
of those would be post shots? I mean,
I honestly
at least
feel like-
15?
I honestly feel like trying to get Steve shots would make him be terrible. Like, just because they tend to
Yeah.
get him shots, like, off of boards and other stuff like that. Like, that's why he's doing so well.
But late in the game, like they have to.
They really need to
they
start
really
giving him
need
some
to at
shots.
least try that. Like what they've been doing,
You're right.
which is rely on the former big three, is not working.
And
Like,
mostly Russ. It's like they're putting the ball in Russ's hands lately, like, go get us a bucket.
well, you said Paul George didn't have a shot in the fourth
Yeah.
quarter.
0 shots.
Like, how does that?
Also 0 for Steve.
How
makes
many
sense.
how many Russ Adams pick and rolls in the fourth quarter last night?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why not just do that? Why?
That's a good set.
There was one play.
What happened?
Russ had it, and I think he called off the pick because it was too early in the shot clock. And to me, I'm just like, just run offense. Like, you guys,
Do something.
like, what do you called it off. The pick never came back, and then it was some terrible shot. I mean,
That's what you want.
I was so excited. I was like, we're finally getting a Russ Adams pick and roll, and then he calls it off.
said, "No."
What are you doing?
So Billy said to not run plays this quarter. So, all right. Bedlam Brother at Bedlam Brother. How much better can real Steven Adams get?
This is a
That's
pretty
his
good
Twitter
question. I mean, I think that he's kind of a product of his surroundings.
For sure.
You know, like, I think Billy Donovan spoke of it. Paul George and Carmelo Anthony stretching the floor has helped him a lot.
Absolutely.
I mean, how can he possibly get better? I think that he
I
has
mean,
to.
if the other guys started making shots, I think he's going to be better.
If the other guys start making shots, his numbers might go down.
Yeah, that's possible, but I think he'll look better.
Yeah.
So he could do a better job of rebounding. I think obviously Russ
Defensively.
His offensive rebounds are
defensively, yeah. I mean, Russ
fantastic.
obviously takes a bunch of those, but I think Adams, I don't know what he's averaging, probably around 8 or so.
8.7 rebounds a game.
Okay.
And 55% of those are offensive rebounds.
Yeah, so definitely defensive rebounds could be.
But like you said, I think Russ takes a lot of those. I think that's a big part of it.
yeah,
I mean,
just
don't you
I
think
just
if he plays for another team, he's over 10 boards a game?
Probably so.
Yeah.
But I really think that if Russ would not get so many rebounds, would play better defense, I think we would see sort of a net gain there if Adams did sort of get up to 10 or whatever, and Russ fell down a little bit on rebounding the ball.
I thought Russ played pretty good defense in the Indiana game. He does this thing where he's so active that he just like squeezes in between and pokes the ball away, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
It
what
looks just like Russ
That
playing
was-
right
you
here.
got a great impression.
Yeah.
of
he
basketball
doesn't
players.
get credit for that a lot of times, you know, because people are more likely to dog on his defense and they
Yeah.
give him credit for actually sneaking up behind people and just being the fastest person on the court usually.
Or playing it. All right, Barry
Sorry, one more thing on the Adams thing.
let
How
you finish.
can he get better? Blocks. He could
Oh,
he
agreed.
could be a better shot blocker.
Agreed.
That's the only
All right.
free throw shooter.
Any more?
Now we're listening like
Also,
three
his
things.
speed on the court could be a little better.
So do they not go
He
to
could s-
Adams late in the game because of free throw shooting? Do you think that's what it is, or is it?
Well, he's shooting better than Russ, it feels like.
He is, but late in the game, I don't know if you want to rely
Right,
on.
yeah, probably not.
That's no excuse for me because he's a really good and one finisher. You know, like
Yeah.
he's so strong, he can finish through contact sometimes.
Was that buzzer beater? Was that last night? Like his little fallback thing? Or was that the
Yes.
Charlotte game? That
Yep.
was so cool. It was very nice to see. All right, Barry McCockiner. Good name.
Oh, man.
At Thunderbucket7, what is your favorite opposing NBA arena to play in? What is your least favorite?
What was the question?
What's your
I
favorite?
forgot about
Barry McCockiner.
What was the question
What's your
again?
favorite opposing NBA arena to play in? Since you're a
I don't.
basketball player.
Okay.
If I was gonna play, it'd be Madison Square Garden. Been there, it's awesome. So that's what I would
That's
say.
cool.
Least favorite?
Humble brag, but I've been there.
Sorry.
Least favorite, the Target Center.
Orlando.
Why?
I don't know. It just said something.
Minnesota's. I went to a Minnesota
Minnesota.
Thunder versus the Thunder game. It was very quiet the whole time. It was so quiet.
I'd like to
That
go.
was several years ago before they had a really good team. Though.
I'd like to go to the United.
Rubio
Center.
was on the team. Ugh,
Rubes.
that'd be cool.
Portland has a really good home court.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, that would be cool, but I agree. It'd be Madison Square Garden. Has to be the answer for where you'd want to play.
I'd say the Peak. What's your least favorite?
the peak.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right, I said Minnesota for that one. Avery Acosta at Alan Burgundy. What style of offense is best with this team? And what combinations of players play best together? We don't have any style of offense.
Yeah, I wish I knew the answer to this. I mean,
Up tempo would
If
be
we
nice
did,
to
we would
see.
like deliver it in a note to Billy and be like, "Bro, I found all the answers to your problems."
I think it's so weird that this team is so good defensively, and they still are playing so slow.
So
like
weird.
pace is down.
It doesn't
like,
make sense.
It's weird.
I feel like I don't know if there's any other case in NBA history that is even similar to what's happening with the Thunder this year.
Yeah.
What was the second part of that? The group of players.
What combination of players play best together?
Probably the starting lineup.
Yep.
Probably the big three.
Who's that?
Adams, Russ, and George.
I thought you were gonna sub in like
Adams, Felton, and Grant.
Yeah.
not any of those other guys. All right, Todd Lytle's back again. Adams mentioned in his post game, it's good to see the boys smiling again. Is that a thing?
That's definitely a thing.
Absolutely 100% a thing.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah. And we talked about this one from James Winskill.
Oh yeah.
Explain how Adams got 0 shot attempts in the fourth quarter in a game where he was the leading scorer for OKC. We can't explain that. It
No
doesn't
shots
make
in
any
the
sense.
fourth quarter, and still led the team in scoring.
Wish I could explain it. They got to figure that out, though. Have to figure it out. It's not an excuse, as you were saying, Rob, for the free throw thing because the team can't hit free throws as it is.
There you go.
And plus, I gotta trust Steven Adams. Like
Yeah.
he seems like he has like
He's a
a
trustworthy
little
dude.
bit of a clutchness to him. I don't know, down the stretch.
I tell him secrets.
No.
Trust him to keep them.
All right, we good here?
Yeah. Let's finish it out. Thanks for those Twitter questions, guys.
Yeah,
They
thanks
were
for the
good.
Twitter questions. Keep
Thanks
them
for the
coming.
Twitter questions. So we're just going around.
All right, for real. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Turn on your notifications. You can know when we go live. Yeah, we're going to keep doing this. And subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, all of that. OKCThunderheads.com. Get everything you need. We'll catch you guys on Sunday. What's between now and then? Philly and the Knicks. Carmelo's return home.
He's going to go off for 75?
Let's predict this. How many shot attempts for Melo at Madison Square Garden on Saturday?
29.
29 is so high.
Yeah.
How many points does he score on 29?
14.
Oh, God. No, we lose that game.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I would say I think he gets 20.
Yeah, I say 20.
I hope he gets 20.
So over under 20, what would you bet? Let's put the over under
We're gonna go in
19
points?
and a half.
Are we talking shots?
Shots.
19
I'm going
and a half,
over. I'm going over that.
I'm going over 19 and a half.
All right.
Clearly way over.
What if he just comes out and is so efficient?
What if he's amazing?
Like 25 points and like it's just so,
just dunks it on Kristaps somehow?
is so efficient and just destroys the
That was
Knicks.
absurd. Sorry.
Hey, he's played there for a long time now. Maybe he's like back in his
He's
comfort
back
zone.
home,
Oh,
Gets
maybe
to go
that's his
see-
get right game.
He gets to go
He's
see
like,
Lala.
yeah.
That's the problem. Are they
Maybe.
still together?
I don't know. I don't think so. I thought they were getting divorced.
Well,
Whatever.
They've been talking.
We'll
again.
catch you guys on Sunday. Thunder up.